Okay, so let's talk a little bit about delegate count accuracy. So it's a spreadsheet here, and in the spreadsheet, we're looking at a number of news agencies of both print and media, going from most accurate to, I think, least accurate, although it may not be in that exact order. But this is really interesting because when you look at the results from the big headlines here between the two, there is a concerted effort across many media organizations to inflate Clinton's numbers, and in some cases, just outright, someone there doesn't know how to do simple arithmetic in some of these places. So when you look at it, their numbers are patently false, and they are presented that way in order to make Clinton look like she's just inches from the nomination, when in fact she is roughly 678 delegates, pledged delegates, from the nomination, clinching the nomination. So let's take a look at a few of these. It's amusing. I like going through this. So this is the BBC, and this is the Associated Press they're using. And it's too bad that a couple of things that the BBC folks don't check the math of the Associated Press, because as you can see, the first thing that's wrong is they're saying that Clinton has 22-28. She doesn't. As of today, which is the finish of the Guam primary, that's the latest information on May 8th, Clinton actually has 1705, and Sanders actually has 1415. So they tell you, kind of almost obscured here, that Sanders has 39 superdelegates and that Clinton has 523. And I'm not even sure those numbers are right. But here's what's interesting. They've just completely gone with the Associated Press has just completely gone with the superdelegates and said, oh yeah, well, we're going to count those. So Clinton only needs 155 to clinch. Well, that's not true. She has 1705, and if you do simple math, you need 2383, which gives Clinton 678, not 155. And the interesting thing about Sanders is Sanders has 1415, and he needs 968. There's a difference between the two. Actually, I didn't even do that. Let's do that real quick. So Sanders needs 968, and Clinton needs 678. And so the difference between the two is 290. If you go back to this original table, the Clinton lead goes from anywhere from, and this is an older one, this is on May 12th. It doesn't have the latest information. But Clinton's lead goes from anywhere from 251 to 689. And a lot of people are reporting 689, which is completely misleading, completely wrong. But they're going with it. So that's the BBC. These guys have the numbers, and they have the real numbers here in very small print. But what they do is they tell you, hey, she only needs 155 delegates to clinch. Well, no, not at all. They're going by this number, and that's clearly what they meant to do. So let's look at ABC. So ABC at least makes an effort here. You can see that they say 1705, and you can see that they say 1415. Of course, this represents visual here, and I'll say this a lot. It'll be a sort of a repeating theme for me. The visuals are completely inaccurate. They make it look like she's inches from winning. They make him look like he's miles from winning, when in fact they're only 290 delegates apart, not 600 plus, which is what a lot of people are saying. So they get some credit for at least putting the real numbers, although they have these numbers first, but at least they put the real numbers. And they identify the superdelegates. A lot of media associations don't even do that. So if we go over to, again, this is the Associated Press, so this is what a lot of people are using as well. So this is, as I said, completely wrong. She's 1705, he's 1415, a difference of 290. She needs 678 to clinch. He needs 968 to clinch, not 155, and not 929. It's like an odd mistake to make. So the AP, good job, guys. You can't count. Let's look at Bloomberg for a second. So what does Bloomberg say? So Bloomberg, again, gives you a little bit of the details, but they don't just list the real number. Instead, they tell you, oh, this includes 523 superdelegates. So Clinton has a total of 22-24, which isn't even the same as the other organization. I think they had a 22-23, and Sanders has 14-51. Okay, so this is clearly very misleading, as is the visual representation. But they don't tell you, and for people that aren't as involved in politics or don't know, they may look at this and say, oh, it includes superdelegates, but she's got 22-24. No. She has 17-05. So nice job, Bloomberg. Oh, this one's great. I love this. This is CBS News. They just outright go for it. 22-27, 14-42. So Sanders' numbers goes up and down, and her number tends to go up one or down one. But basically, these are wrong. It's again, Clinton is 17-05. Sanders is 14-15, and they're within 290 delegates, pledged delegates of each other, and they don't even attempt to show you any details here at all. They just say, hey, total delegates, and then needed to win. They have a big pointer here, and they show Clinton inches away. Again, misleading visual. So CNN. CNN is not much better. At least they don't lie about the or get the math wrong, or at least they know how to add. Because, well, they don't bother adding is probably what I should say. They just give you this thing that says, well, she's 22-24 and a big bold number, and you need 23-83 to win. So, wow, she's pretty close. Then they give you this detail on the side here, 1709, which is not correct. It's 1705 as of Guam, which is today. And Sanders is 1406, which is also not correct. It's 1415. So for something like a presidential contest, I'm really surprised that none of these organizations can actually get their numbers correct. But this is clearly misleading. Giant bold letters. This is really what should be bold, and it should be 1705, and this should be not 09, and this should be 1415. Not, but still, that's what they're doing. Not very, not real good. So let's take a look at The Economist. What do? Well, they do this really funky, crazy thing where God knows how you're supposed to add all this stuff up if you're trying to figure it out on your own, or what that means, or how any of this works. Pretty much, from a usability standpoint, completely confusing. But again, the number now they're saying is 2175, which is interesting, because over here she had 2224, so now they're saying it's 2175. Now, granted, this might be a different time period, so no, it's May 4th. It's interesting. Well, at any rate, this clearly represents superdelegates, and it's wrong. And they don't give you any detail at all that even includes the superdelegate numbers. So that's very misleading from The Economist. So let's go over to Fox News. Let's see how Fox does. Well, Fox does a little better. They actually use the numbers from the Associated Press, which I give them credit for actually adding this, because the Associated Press did not have this level of detail. And again, 1705, 1415, so at least they have those numbers right, and they identify the number of superdelegates. They don't do much else to explain, but it's a little less misleading because they don't have a graphic that shows Clinton 6 millimeters from winning. But it's still a little misleading because they have these giant numbers here. So people may look at this being, from an English country reading from left to right, we may look at that and say, oh, okay, well, I'm done. Clinton's 22-28. She's almost there because she only needs this, right? So a little better, but it would have been totally on board if they had said these numbers large and put the smaller numbers underneath for superdelegates, but they didn't. And again, for those of you that don't follow politics as well or don't understand this, superdelegates are not pledged. They have to wait till the convention and then they make their decision. So these numbers are wrong. It's supposed to be these numbers right here. And I don't know if it's a little bit of cover your butt here by putting it here, but Fox at least made an effort, so I have to give him credit for that. Okay, so now we look at NBC, my favorite station, not. Let's look at what they say. So NBC basically says that, and this wonderful little crazy-looking thing here that you're supposed to click on and do all this math in your head instead of doing it in some semblance of a nice way for you to see how everything adds up. So they're saying she's 22-23 and he's 14-59. Again, totally wrong, and a very misleading graphic as well, because you can see it says 2383 to win, and oh, she's almost there, and look at how far away he is. He's oceans away. Well, it's only 290 between the two, not the number they would have you believe here. So, they get an F, but then again, they've been getting an F all through the primary season for how they misrepresent or ignore Bernie Sanders and show us Trump 24/7. I mean, even look at the beginning of this page here. Decision 2016, Trump, 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 Trump video, Trump images, Trump stories. Oh, there's, some more Trump stories. And then you have to go way down here. Oh, look, there's Republican stuff. Oh, yeah, and there's Trump again. And then finally we get to the Democrats. That's the other theme that's bad about this primary season. All right, so let's look at the New York Times. How does the New York Times fare? Well, the New York Times is a little better, actually. They're representing incorrect numbers, but at least close to the real numbers. This is Hillary Clinton is 1705, and Bernie Sanders is 1415. And they do separate the superdelegates, and there's this color-coded way of trying to show it. Again, the visual is a little misleading because it tells you need 2383, and Clinton is just inches from winning, and Sanders is an ocean away, which, of course, graphically speaking, if we were going to represent 1711 or 1701 and 1411 together, they would be a little closer than that, I would think. So that's a little bit of a mismatch. They showed the real numbers, but then the graphic doesn't at all match that. So that's kind of an attempt to do that. At least they get some credit for, they got it wrong, but at least they get some credit for getting a little bit closer on the numbers. So let's look at the Huffington Post. So the Huffington Post does this interesting thing. When you play this thing, it does this kind of dumb little animation where everyone goes yippee yahoo, and then Guam is the last one here. So I clicked on Guam here to show you that they've got the numbers right here. But here's the game they play, okay? And again, this goes to visual representation. Some guy at the editorial oversight there at the Huffington Post can say, hey, listen, I got these numbers right. Well, yeah, but the animation and the visuals are completely misleading because what they do is they jump to with superdelegates, and she darts to the finish line just about, again, real close to this 2383 indicator up here. So let's watch this animation. Oh, hold on, sorry, let's start over. Let's start from the beginning so you guys can see the beginning. Okay, well, close to the beginning anyways. There we go. So let's watch this little thing. It's, oh, hooray and ha-ha. So someone was drinking cough syrup when they made this thing. But watch how she jumps ahead. And when she gets to Guam, he's like right on her tail. And then all of a sudden, bang, they add superdelegates in, and she just sprints off to the finish line. See, Sanders is constantly catching up, catching up, catching up, catching up a little bit, catching up. Okay, here we go, catching up a little bit. All right, now Guam a little bit, and bang, woo, hot dog, look at her go, yeah. And then they write this lame thing that says superdelegates on the bottom to say, hey, just so you all know. Yeah, see, look, wrong. When you mouse over it, these numbers are completely wrong. She doesn't need 155 more delegates. She's at 1705, not counting superdelegates, which means that she needs a whopping 678 more. So I missed that the first time I saw this, so that's really misleading from the Huffington Post. And they're saying that Bernie needs 714, or 774 rather, which is in effect also wrong. As of today, Guam, May 8th, he needs 968. So they can't get any of the numbers right. And this is totally misleading and totally wrong. It is not 155, it is 678, people. Again, misleading, and probably, I can't say that every news organization makes the same mistake. It seems like it's the way they want people to believe. So, all right, let's look at NPR. So NPR has been a disappointment to me for years because NPR is supposed to be more representative of the people and, non-corporate and blah-de-blah. But, when Bush got in office, things seemed to go downhill for NPR, and it never came back. So what did they do? They did a really kind of misleading thing here. So they're saying that Clinton is, graphically speaking, she's so close to winning. Oh, my goodness, look, she only needs an inch, and Sanders, again, is an ocean away. But, the total's this, then they say this, and then they say the last 7 days. There's no effort to explain that these are unpledged, these two numbers on the right, or any of that. And again, reading from left to right, everyone would assume, especially those that don't know how superdelegates work, and believe me, there are plenty that don't, that 2228 is the number, and oh my goodness, she's almost there. Nope, 1705 and 1415. So at least they got those numbers right. Good job, NPR. They get an A for that, but they get an F for fibbing on the visual representation here. It just looks horrible. So there's NPR. All right, here's PBS. This one is even more disappointing than NPR. So they just flat out go for it and say, yeah, 2228 to 1454. Yep, that's it. Which, of course, is not true because they don't make any distinction at all between pledged delegates and unpledged superdelegates. They talk about it here. They say it includes a group of that. And they also talk about the Associated Press, but they still don't make any reference to the fact that they are unpledged. So simply awful. Thank you, PBS. Glad I don't donate to you. 2016 delegate tracker. All right, so this is Politico, and not that I would expect anything great from Politico, but you get Hillary Clinton at 2228 and Bernie Sanders at 1454. And when you click on details, yeah, this is helpful. A zillion little things where you have to scroll along. Not user-friendly. So whoever the usability guy is for these guys, fire that guy. Terrible. So let's look at this. This is, again, 1705 for Clinton and 1415 for Sanders. So she's still, no matter what the press says, she's still 678 delegates, pledged delegates, from clinching. So, yeah. All right, let's look at the next one. USA Today. Yep, they did the same thing. They just full-on went for it. 2228, 1454. Graphically speaking, she's so close to inching. Sanders, oceans away. So, statistically speaking, given that this is actually 1705 and this is actually 1415, they're only 290 delegates apart, Sanders should be right about here in this place, not way back here. But again, visually misleading to a large extent. USA Today, yep. All right, and let's look at the Wall Street Journal. Are they any better? Nope. Although when you mouse over it, if you're smart enough to know that, you can see that there is a difference between delegates and superdelegates. But do they say one's pledged and one's unpledged? No. Do they try and make that distinction? No. To make it worse, from a graphical representation, they put 2228 in the end here and 1454 here, and then this is what you need to win. Again, she's so close. And he's oceans away, there's just no chance. Well, no. He's only 290 delegates behind her. She needs 678, he needs 968. So, one last one. Oh yeah, the Washington Post. So they do another great line here, which means a bunch of nothing. But they do say she has 1705 clinched or pledged delegates, which is true as of today, as of Guam primary. But oddly enough, they have this thing for Sanders. They don't say what he has. They just completely leave Sanders off. So they tell you she's 1705, and they just don't say anything about him at all. You can see up here it's 1705 and 1415, and then they have pledged and unpledged. But the big giant number is this 2228. Again, visually misleading. And they don't say anywhere that these are unpledged. They do say these are pledged, but they don't. I'm sorry. I'm totally wrong. They say pledged and unpledged. I totally missed that. So, my bad. So, these guys are at least, unlike most of them. See, I'm sorry. I've gotten so used to everyone not doing that I didn't expect to see it on here. But yes, they do call out pledged and unpledged. It would be better if they weren't adding these numbers up and putting these in giant blue. That's a little misleading. And their chart's odd for how it misses some things. But overall, they actually are doing a better representation than a lot of other people are. So when you go back to this count accuracy and you're looking at this, again, the numbers in this last column here are just unbelievable. Clinton lead. Anywhere from 251 to 696 is the highest. So right now, and again, this is on April 12th, so probably the most accurate, surprisingly enough to me, is ABC, even though they still have, ABC still has some, issues with their their images and graphics, but they are more accurate than almost everyone else out there. So when you look at their stuff, you can see that they do at least say 1705, but again, they do this misleading thing where it looks like she's just about there and he's oceans away. But at least their numbers have been accurate throughout most of this, which is surprising. And HuffPo was, I thought, one of the most accurate until they did that little game. And I'm trying to find it again. Oh, let me just go back here. It's not on there. Anyways, where they did that game where you look at it and they show you the horse race between Clinton and Sanders, and I can't find it, but at the very end, well, actually, here it is. Let's take a look at that again real quick. So I thought they were one of the most accurate, but when you mouse over Clinton's horse here, it says she needs 155, and that is completely wrong. Most of the other organizations will sit there and draw a misleading visual. They won't come right out and go for it and give you completely wrong math. So the Associated Press and the Huffington Post get the biggest raspberries for not only having misleading visuals, but taking numbers that are completely false and promoting them. So good job, guys. So at the end here, that's the issue when you're looking at all this. What can you take from this? Well, of course, one of the main things you can take from this is that most of the mainstream media is unreliable. I would even go to say untrustworthy because of the games they play and the things they do. CNN often comes out and they say right on the air that the Democrats don't like us to do this, but we're going to go ahead and count superdelegates. So at least they're honest about being misleading. They still don't tell people sometimes what the actual numbers are, and other times they do. I've watched them the entire primary season. Depending on who's talking and what they're talking about will depend on whether they actually call out the differences in numbers or just give Clinton everything, including superdelegates, and say, well, we're going to count that. This is where she is now. It's like, okay, guys, perfect. But when you look at all these things, it really is disheartening to see how completely inaccurate these things are. Yeah, see, here we are right here. Totally inaccurate. And they know it. CNN knows it, and I know they know it because they talk about it on the air all the time. The simple fact of the matter is that you've got Clinton has 1705 pledged delegates. Sanders has 1415 pledged delegates. So at the end of the day, Clinton needs 678 delegates to clinch. Sanders needs 968 to clinch. There's still several huge contests, including California, coming up. And last I knew, the percentage was that Sanders would have to lose every remaining contest by somewhere around 35 to 38%. That's just not going to happen. He's already won, and those odds get lower and lower every time he wins. So, anyways, that's my media rant. I just wanted to capture this little moment in time before it all disappears or falls off the websites, because it's just outrageous what these guys are doing. I mean, literally outrageous. Thanks for listening.